Welcome to the year 2024 and Comic Book Nation. This is our weird in-between episode, the end of Season 5, the beginning of Season 6. We are like the Ant-Man of our show right now, right? The end of one phase, the beginning of another. So, to round out the year and begin the next year, if you are hearing this, then hopefully you made it into a safe and happy New Year start. Welcome to 2024. We are Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. And with me today, I have my regular lineup of co-hosts. There is Matthew Aguilar.
What's up, everybody?
Janelle Wheeler.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Connor Casey.
What up?
So, guys, we decided to do it kind of a fun way this year. We're doing a round robin where we are each taking our top 5 things we are excited for this year and revealing them round robin style. So we will go around and each of us will reveal our number 5, our number 4, 3, 2. You get the idea. And this can cover, we are a show that covers all things geek culture. We are not kidding about that. So this can be anything from movies, TV, gaming, comic books, anime, snacks if people are crazy enough. Like, it could be a lot of stuff. So I'm eager to see what each of my co-hosts picks and to be reminded of what I picked. I always love that part of the game. Without further ado, subscribe to Comic Book Nation if you are just getting into the show now. We release bonus episodes hitting all the biggest content in geek culture, and we would love for you to join us. So subscribe on our YouTube page and subscribe on platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All right, guys, most anticipated. Okay. So most anticipated of 2024. Let's go. We start. It's going to be alphabetical order. So let's start with Mr. Connor Casey's number 5 pick. What are you going with, buddy?
Number 5 is The Penguin Season 1. I need some more of the Batman in my life. And while we all patiently wait for James Gunn and the DCU and what that winds up being, I'm still hyped about this one. What's come out about what they want to do with Batman 2, whether or not it's true, which villains are going to show up. I want to see Gotham get crazier in between how the first Batman ended versus what we're going to get to in the sequels. And I really hope that this is used as the bridge to get us from, hey, it's the hardened, dark, noir stuff to the absolute craziness that Gotham always devolves into the more you get into the more sci-fi type villains. Your Mr. Freezes, your Clayfaces, your Ra's al Ghuls with his immortality. And I want to see, how does a city turn out like that? And what better way to do it than with Colin Farrell in a fat suit and trying to take over Gotham crime?
All right.
Love it.
Okay. Love it.
Amazing.
Janelle, we move on to you. What was your number 5 pick for most anticipated of the
So
year?
my most anticipated is actually something that completely shocked me that was even being made to begin with. There is an awesome video game called Fallout, which is just one of my favorites. I think it's such a well done game. It's kind of about the apocalypse and like the post-apocalyptic, like 200 years later when you come out of the bunker and the world has done a lot of weird things. It's gotten violent and techie, but like it's steampunky. It's very, very interesting. I cannot wait to see this TV show. It is from the creators of Westworld, from what I read, which gives me a ton of hope because Westworld was one of my favorite shows for quite some time. And if you don't know anything about this video game, I cannot wait to like get that take. Like, I kind of want to know what the people who have no idea what this video game is about, because in the game, it's kind of funny. It's cheeky, right? But like, I would imagine it's going to be a very serious show. I don't know how they would like come across like in a post-apocalyptic, like as, oh, this is hilarious. Like everything's dead. This dog has 5 heads. Like, so I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I actually like, this is my sleeper hit. Like I have really high hopes. I hope they do a good job with it.
Okay, Janelle. Good job cooking on that. And producer Peter is saying we can cook a little bit more with these in first rounds of picks. Because apparently we all kind of start to kind of come together. It's been an early spoiler, but we're going to see. It says interesting things about this year. Moving on to my number 5 pick, I actually went to the world of comics and I picked Ultimate Spider-Man. Jonathan
Ooh.
Hickman is giving us a new Ultimate Spider-Man series, and this is part of a larger discussion that started in 2023 and is going to be kind of continuing into 2024, which is how Spider-Man is like one of the it's at its best, the Spider-Man franchise right now, except in one area, which is the comics. Spider-Man's cooking on all fronts. You know, you've got the Spider-Verse movies killing it at the box office. You got Spider-Man 2 coming out this past year and really killing it on the games for both Peter Parker and Miles Morales. You know, we've even got new MCU Spider-Man animated series coming next year. But the Spider-Man comics have been very divisive. And so the news that producer Peter says, and in the Spider-Man comics, you have Paul, which is
Paul.
true. And we all hate Paul. Don't worry about it. But one of the best. So there's this kind of perfect thing that's happening here, right? Like Spider-Man comics need revitalization. We all agree with that. And for us, one of the biggest things we've been talking about is next year we'll also see the relaunch of X-Men after the Krakoa era started by Jonathan Hickman, which was a pivotal thing for this show because one of the things that helped us find our way was getting into weekly discussions about the launch of House of X through House of X and Powers of X or Powers of 10. And that helped launch this show and our kind of focus on comics. It was a popular discussion. And so Hickman kind of left X-Men behind and he was just teasing. He was working on one Marvel hero he never thought he would. And it turns out it's Spider-Man. So we're getting Ultimate Spider-Man back. We're getting a relaunch under Hickman, no less. And it's finally doing something that a lot of fans have wanted to see happen, which is we are getting a new story where because of the things we had to slough through this year in Ultimate Invasion series, basically the Ultimate Universe is getting a reboot, but under different ways. And in this version of the story, because of the maker, Peter Parker does not get his powers until later in life. And so this is going to be Peter Parker as Spider-Man when he is married to Mary Jane, has a couple kids, and a whole new way to kind of examine Spider-Man. So I am on board for this. Ultimate Spider-Man's relaunch was one of the biggest things that happened in comics in the 2000s and one of the most successful relaunches of Spider-Man and just storytelling arcs. The whole kind of Bendis Bagley run with that was just such an kind of way of really making Spider-Man pure in a way again, where it had gotten convoluted and really bringing kind of our love back to Peter Parker, eventually leading to the introduction of Miles Morales and did all this stuff. So I am really interested to see if we can't get Spider-Man back to a place of comic book, like just overwhelmingly beloved and mainstream comic book attention, which he has not really had in years. We've seen it happen this year in the DC side, like we were just talking about the trinity of DC, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, all cooking in new ways that are so fresh and exciting on the comic book page right now. I'd love to see Spider-Man be there too. So that's my number 5 pick for most anticipated 2024. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I gotta say, all 3 of those were fantastic picks. I'm excited for all of them. So very much. And for me, it's Creature Commandos. I am, look, it's at this point, I feel like it's actually kind of happened naturally during the flow of the show from when we started. Like I've just kind of become more and more of a DC fan over the course of these 5 years. 5 years, and I am very excited for this new era. And while Superman Legacy is obviously the tentpole that really kicks off the universe and establishes so many things, Creature Commandos is our first kind of step into that world. Also, it's known that I adore the weird characters of comic universes, and this this team is like, look, they got Frankenstein on this team. Okay, I am so excited. GI Robot, like some of these weird weasels here. Yes, it's got the like Amanda Waller wrapper, which is kind of become a little formulaic for me, but everything else about it is so wonderfully. It can be so wonderfully quirky, especially with James Gunn as leading this, and really it feels like in a lot of ways kind of a passion project for him. There's just so much. Plus, I'm a sucker for animation, and having all of that paired, we've seen what Gunn can do in live action. We know that this team lends itself to kind of that, some kind of off the wall antics, some brutality there, some unexpected surprises. So I am excited for this. I feel like this has all the chance in the world to get this next era off to a fun start, and I'm excited for that to begin. So that's me.
I think also, like, yeah, I'm very interested that they're starting back in a period of like World War II, and with this selection of characters who can touch into so many other things that could come afterwards. And I'm really keeping an eye on this one, though I did not put it on my list. I will admit that up front. No, I mean spoilers, but yeah, it's good to see you repping it. Otherwise, we would have gotten shredded by DC fans. So good job, Matt. And back around to Connor Casey for his number 4 pick.
Number 4, I will be shocked if this makes it onto anybody else's list. It Has Been Hotel, coming out on Amazon Prime here next month. If you have watched anything animated on YouTube in the past 4 years or so, this has probably been recommended to you by YouTube's algorithm. It's the original pilot, dropped in 2019. It's got almost 100 million views right now. It, by just the pilot alone, managed to spin out this massive fandom of different music, fan art, a separate show that spun off from it from the same creator, Vivian Madrano. And but Has Been Hotel had always been kind of stuck in development hell, where it was, hey, this is getting picked up for an actual show. And then we just didn't hear about anything of it for years. So then its spin-off, Hell of a Boss, became its own thing. It's 2 seasons deep. It's excellent. I would thoroughly recommend it to anybody. It's very different from anything else I typically talk about on this show, but I really recommend you go watch that show by itself. I'm curious to see what this looks like when you have a budget, when you have create a writer's room, you have producers, you have a full creative team behind it. Because up until this point, we've seen this one very talented, very creative person make basically all of this. So now I want to see what the big budget version of that looks like. You've got some names on the cast list. Stephanie Beatriz is the obvious standout, but then you've got voiceover stalwarts like Keith David popping up in there. This one comes out next month on Amazon. I really hope it does well, and I hope that Hell of a Boss goes a similar route where it gets bumped up to the big time and not just staying on YouTube. So give this one a look.
Okay, thank you, Connor. That was an unexpected pick. All right, I like it. Now we're cooking. Now we're learning stuff. This is what the show's all about.
Not wrong about the algorithm either, because it's hit me. I've seen so many versions of
you cannot escape that pilot. Like, no. I went years before.
No, I've seen it. I've never watched it, but I've seen it pop up because I was like, what are you trying to show me? You trying to get me to stay at a hotel? What are you trying to do here? All right. Oh boy, now I gotta watch this. This is what this show does. All right, Janelle.
It's weird. It gets crazy.
Oh boy. All right, Janelle, what'd you have for number 4?
Sure. Speaking of unexpected picks, just kidding. I am really excited about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. This is a 6-episode special. I guess I should start with this. If I always say this in case we have new listeners, but the way that I started with comicbook.com was my super fandom of The Walking Dead. So that pretty much was like my foot in the door as the first comic book I read. And I was like an uber super fan. I will say that even after like being my first comic, being just madly in love with these characters, being a just uber super fan, and even hosting a show with Comic Book about The Walking Dead, I fell off. I definitely stopped really feeling invested in the show at all. Once they killed off Glenn, it was a big hit for me. But then, losing Rick Grimes, he is the lead of the show. It really kind of took the magic out of it for me. And that is when I slowly stopped watching. I will say Negan was intriguing and great, but it was really hard for me to stay with it. So that being said, in these 6 episodes, we finally get Andrew Lincoln back as Rick Grimes. We get Michonne back, and I feel that they have a lot to live up to. They have a lot to bring back for fans like me who kind of fell off. This is what is going to get us back into the Walking Dead universe. So it's been 5 years since Rick died, but we'll obviously see that he isn't dead. And I really have no idea where he landed, what he's been up to. I'm not sure if I'm going to be out of the loop because I haven't continued on watching the other spinoffs as well as the actual main show finish. I'm just really intrigued with how that's all going to be handled and if my expertise from earlier days will come into play here. I have no idea, and that is part of the excitement for me. So all my Walking Dead fans, I'll definitely be tweeting and hopefully bringing it up on the show and things like that. So yeah, really excited about Rick Grimes.
Man, Walking Dead universe. I like that you guys are cooking outside of the box. Carl. Oh man, that show.
If they could only bring Shane back, that
Oh man, John Bernthal has bigger, better things to do.
Walking Dead, peak Shane Walking Dead was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane, shaved head Shane with a shotgun is the way to go, baby. Soon we'll all be like that. All right, going in my number 4 pick. My number 4 pick. We're already getting one overlap here. Does anybody want to guess? It is DC's Penguin. So I am with Connor Casey. The more I rewatch the Batman, the more it grows on me because you begin, in our business, it's tough. We have to follow these films through 2 years. The Batman was this huge production troubled by COVID. We were all like, are they going to be able to pull this together? So when I feel like when we saw it, we were all just basically examining it to see if it was going to fail or flop. And I remember that it was just work for us to even get to screen the film was nuts. And so it was a lot of things, but the more I rewatch it and the more I kind of look at it again, I've already put it as one of my regular annual Halloween movie viewings I'll be doing each year. But it set up a whole universe that was interesting. And we've heard already, prospective projects. There's an Arkham project, but this Penguin project was the most interesting because Colin Farrell did such a great job in the film. And when we learned what it was going to be, I think, and we do every year, will Marvel or DC have the better year? And the one we did for 2022, at the end, I was and why I thought DC had done good is because of James Gunn, which ironically, or I think we did it before when we did it before DC Studios. The point is that James Gunn had made the Suicide Squad, and then he made Peacemaker, which was excellent extension of the movie universe. And I pointed to that and said, in some ways, that's better than anything as Marvel is doing with Disney Plus series. Peacemaker actually takes what happened in that film, makes it matter, and makes it as the center point of this next story that was also very good. I think the Penguin's going to do the same thing. I think the Penguin is going to take the world in the kind of themes we saw in the Batman and give more depth to them and expand the world of Gotham without us having to, spend time doing that in the next film, right? Sequels usually do the bigger, better, more scope, but this will flesh out a lot of Gotham for us. And it already looks like prestige viewing. The cast they got is great. Homegirl from How I Met Your Mother being kind of part of was she playing the Falcone or is she playing Maroni's daughter? I forget which one. I have to look up the cast, but this cast seems good. The little preview we saw of Colin Farrell in it and laughing and shooting somebody. We are reading Tom King's Penguin series right now on the comic side, and check out the pull list every week. Matthew Aguilar breaking down comics and killing it. But that's an excellent series that makes you realize why Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin is such a dangerous and ruthless and crime lord. And I think this show can do the same kind of thing for the character. And so I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a great extension of Matt Reeves' Batman universe. And it's going to be just bringing that kind of HBO level Boardwalk Empire, Sopranos kind of crime drama feel to the comic book world, which is something, I mean, we need. We need things in this comic book world that can actually appeal to us more as adults right now. And this feels like it's going to be one. And it feels like one we could actually get to if it's like weekly and have stuff to break down, talk about, not just in comic book gossip and like, oh, was that fire? Was that Firefly they introduced? But like actually the themes, the deeper stuff of it, like I think we can do actual breakdowns of this. So I'm really looking forward to Penguin. So that's my number 4 pick.
The voice that comes with it is what makes that the best. The voice. I gotta say, we just watched the Batman again this past week, and man, like holds up. It's really good. And man, I forgot how good his Penguin is. That is just a transformative like performance from him. So I'm very excited for this series. I will say, like Kofi, I've been so far, I will say actually, like none of the things that have been mentioned to this point are on my list, but they're all amazing. And Penguin almost made it. I had to debate. For me, I kind of wanted to, lean into something different for me that I don't get to talk about much, and that's RPGs, because next year is a huge year for RPGs in the video game space. Like there's actually some amazing titles coming. And one of the ones that kind of popped on the radar earliest was the new game from the one of the studios that makes the Persona games. And that new game is Metaphor ReFantazio. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. That game is, I adore, like Persona 5 is just fantastic, regardless of which version you play. And so some of those mechanics are now being moved over into this game, but this game, instead of being set in kind of the modern day and moving over to the surreal world and things like that, this is set like straight up fantasy. And everyone knows that's my bag. I love fantasy settings. And so, obviously it's going to be kind of different and unique in that the feel of that world and things like that, but still to have some of the fantasy kind of stalwarts, and then also added with the Persona, like all the social interactions that Persona games are known for, the calendar, the texting back and forth, all that stuff that, those communication methods, for those to kind of still find some way into this game, and then also have the turn-based combat with all of its layered depth and constant, like those games are so good at the minute you have your kind of core skill set mastered, it adds another wrinkle that kind of changes how you approach everything. And then it does it a couple hours later, and then it keeps doing it. And so it's just, that game is so good about iterating on its systems. And for now to be set in a fantasy setting and have all those hallmarks that I adore in this gorgeous looking game, I cannot wait. This is like late 2024. Also, the great thing about this is that regardless of what system you have, you can play. So no exclusivity here. It's on everything. So I am pumped. It was hard to narrow it down. There's actually like 5 RPGs I'm super looking forward to next year. It was hard to narrow it down, but this one is definitely high on the list.
Wow, you are setting yourself up for a pretty bummed year until the end, though. There so far, buddy.
I'm good. We got more picks. I'm good.
All right, so those are our picks for number 4 and 5. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it comes down to everybody's top 3 most anticipated picks for 2024. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation Season 5's epilogue episode that's taken us into 2024, the most anticipated of 2024. We've already done our picks for number 5 and number 4. Now it's time for the top 3. Connor Casey, starting with you. What was your number 3 pick?
Connor Casier's here reporting live. Number 3 is Dune 2. Never forget what they took from us, ladies and gentlemen. We were supposed to get that in 2023. We did not, but we're getting it in early 2024. Dune was always seen as a sci-fi property that was unfilmable. David Lynch kind of proved that. This is especially once you get into the later books.
I will
series
not have
itself-
besmirching of David Lynch's Dune.
yeah, and staying in the mankini, have at it. Dune itself goes into such a weird place after you get past the second book. So the fact that they took the first book, split it into 2 movies, gave it to one of my favorite directors, especially in terms of visuals, an unbelievably stacked cast. It led to one of my favorite movies of the year when the first Dune came out. I have full confidence Dune 2 will continue that. And if Denis Villeneuve is to be believed, he's going to do Dune Messiah as part 3 and end it there. And I think if he does, we low-key have one of the best trilogies of the decade. If he can pull it off, if he can land this plane. So show me what you got with part 2.
Do the worm man, you cowards. Do the worm man. You have to do the worm man. Otherwise, you guys are cowards.
We got enough worms. Trust me.
No, but worm man. Worm man. You know, you need the worm man of it all. If you don't know what I'm talking about, do your Dune Wiki reading because it gets wild. All right. Janelle, what was your number 3 pick, please?
Yeah, my number 3 is probably kind of confusing for some, so I have to give context. It's Beetlejuice 2, but it's because the first and original Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I know I'm biased. Like, I completely understand that. I'm owning it. I love Beetlejuice. It like shaped my childhood. I was a weird loner kid, and I totally aligned with Lydia, and I had my gothic stage, and like this just, it was just like everything to me. So I'm so excited because Tim Burton obviously is coming back. If Tim Burton was not involved, then I would not be excited at all. I'd actually probably be angry. So that makes me so happy. Michael Keaton is going to be in it. Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara is going to be in it. I mean, it is stacked with all of those actors and those characters, and hopefully the magic that the original film brought. Jenna Ortega is going to be in the new lead of this. She's going to be like the new face of the franchise, and I love her as well. So I think the casting is spectacular, and I feel like we need something like this. We need weird 80s nostalgic, like, you know, fun vibes. I love that whole situation where it's like creepy but not frightening, and it's fun but not like, you know, Marvel like made a silly joke. Like it's such a great film, and I really hope that they can bring the magic for the next. I'm really hating on Marvel today, aren't I? I'm just like anti-Marvel girl. I love
Again,
that
it's the voice. It's just the voice that accompanies the dig.
You guys are getting production confused. Half the people listening to this are not going to understand what you're talking about. But
Kobe is wearing off on me with
we recorded 2 different shows today. But all right, was that your number 3 pick?
Yep, that's my number 3.
All right, on to me. My number 3 pick is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice 2 as well is my number 3 pick. So yeah, I was very much a Beetlejuice kid. A lot of my romantic choices in life start with Lydia Dietz and hearing the phrase "my whole life is a dark room," and I think my buddy Matt here will know can see how much that's imprinted on me for the rest of my life. So yeah, and this is a big deal. Tim, all the things Janelle said, plus a couple things. Tim Burton's coming back. He's gotten the core cast back of Lydia, of Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, Michael Keaton. Burton and Jenna Ortega just proved how good of a combination they are doing Wednesday and kind of nailing that down. But you also have in the mix, you have Monica Bellucci from the Matrix films, the last 2 Matrix films, as Beetlejuice's wife, which is going to be great. You have William Dafoe in this movie, Justin Theroux's in this movie. So this is already, I mean, even if the script is absolute trash, it's just like you can put this group of people in a room and just be like, look, you guys cook and you guys figure it out. And you even got Justin Theroux can scribble some stuff down and fix a scene in the moment. There's too much talent here for me not to believe in this project at this point. Like, it doesn't feel like an empty cash grab. It feels like people actually coming back for this kind of generational Beetlejuice story. And I'm just curious just to see the kind of Lydia, her stepmom, I always forget her stepmom's like full name in the movie, but just to see Lydia, her stepmom, and then her daughter in that dynamic alone is going to be funny for the modern age. Delia, Lydia, Delia, and Astrid is the name of Ortega's character. So I'm just kind of psyched to see what it is, and kind of psyched to see like goth stuff in the 80s is what it was then, but like what is it now for like Ortega's character, because it can't be the same kind of goth, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And Michael Keaton's, I hope they let him cook because the same kind of way, because when you go back and watch Beetlejuice, he's in a completely different movie. He's in a rated R raunch comedy long before there were rated R raunch comedies like that. And he just doesn't care. He's having fun with it. And the older he gets, the wilder Michael Keaton's getting. Like, if nothing else about The Flash, him and an ascot kicking butt with a stunt double as Bruce Wayne is saying weird things over spaghetti is so much fun, right? Because Michael Keaton's just got that. So that is also my number 3 pick, Beetlejuice 2. So yeah, Janelle, you're not too far out there.
That is amazing. Also, I gotta say, I am excited for that because of the Tim Burton and Ortega pairing, because I just adored Wednesday. Wednesday is not 2024, right? It is 2025. Otherwise, I should have made my list. Yeah. But I think it's 2025 because that one
I don't think it's 24.
It was delayed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm so psyched for season 2 of that just because of that pairing alone. So I will check out Beetlejuice. I wasn't much of a Beetlejuice person, but I will definitely check this out because of this.
Because you're not like me. You're not a rebel, Dottie, a loner.
So my number 3 pick is The Witcher, Sirens of the Deep. This is the next animated kind of spin-off of the series, but this one's a little different from the previous one, which was very much kind of an anime-styled movie, and it also kind of took place in the past. This one also takes place in the past, but not as far back as the previous one. This one is actually set in season 1. It's set between episodes 5 and 6. It's based on A Little Sacrifice. And so you're actually, what's great about this is that, number one, it's set kind of during the kind of modern day television show version of The Witcher. So you're going to get that familiar aesthetic, but then also it features the voice of Geralt in The Witcher 3. So it's actually kind of a perfect pairing of, like, you know, animation. You get the voice from the game, but you're also set during the TV show. It's kind of like that perfect mix for me. I'm very excited to see what they can do with this story, but also just in general, like that combination is great. It's one of those things we talk a lot about The Witcher this year in terms of all the like behind the scenes stuff and the casting and hearing that. And for me, I'm just kind of looking, kind of like I was looking at the MCU this year as it kind of, ended the year. I'm kind of looking to like, okay, I just want to enjoy the thing I enjoy. And I think this will kind of nail that for me. It'll be just a way for me to just like enjoy the franchise again without having to get into all the other drama and stuff that accompanies the show at this point. So I'm very excited for this. The last one, Nightmare of the Wolf, was fantastic. And granted, that's it's a different thing, but I was still very excited for that. So far, they're A+ on the animation. I'm hoping it's the same for this. And I'm pretty sure, we're not going to get, the next season of the core Witcher live action series till 2025. So between that and you should definitely go play the next gen update to Witcher 3. Feel like, there's going to be at least some things to play during the year and enjoy the franchise. So that's me, number 3.
Okay, back around to Mr. Connor Casey, and now we're getting down to the nitty gritty of it all. Our top 2 picks. Connor, go.
I feel like this one's going to pop up on a lot of lists. It's Deadpool 3. Guys, part of me is dreading superhero media in 2024. Marvel is trying to kind of revamp what they're doing once we get past this run of admittedly a pretty decent season of What If, and then it's get into Echo all at once. After that, it's a question of what the hell does Daredevil Born Again wind up being when it finally crosses the finish line. Sony is threatening us with 3 Spider-Man spin-off movies, and they swear to God they're going to do it. And every time it sounds more like a threat. DCU obviously doesn't really pick up until Creature Commandos at the end of the year. And we don't get anything live action until next year outside of the Penguin. And for movies and television as a whole, we're going to feel the pinch of the writers and actors strike going on for such a big chunk of this year. So a lot is riding on Deadpool. And then it's also a question of, how are we bringing in the X-Men? Is this going to be a big revamp? How is this going to, what all role is this going to play in the MCU? And to be honest, after the year we just had, I don't care about any of that. I just want a good movie. I just want a good Deadpool movie. Everything else is secondary. And I hope they take that same viewpoint. I'm nervous, but I'm hopeful.
This is one of the rare cases where I went to the Reddits to see what they were saying about this. And if even half of what's out there on the Reddits is true, this is going to be a fun movie. And I think you're being too hard, though, usually kind of negative. I think the biggest question for 2024 in a lot of comic book fans' minds is what did happen in the forest when her mother was researching spiders. It's already or the Amazon.
I don't know what's worse. The fact that Beyond the Spider-Verse doesn't have a prayer of coming out next year, or that.
Madame Web.
I think I'm the only one who actually kind of wants to see that movie.
I was in here talking about, because we heard some of the leaks about that and like the Back to the Future of it all, trying to preserve Peter Parker in the womb and all that, the Terminator kind of spin. I was like, I'm down for that. Then I saw the trailer and then I was like, oh, okay.
Less so. Yeah.
Look, like I'm going to see Sydney Sweeney in a Julia Carpenter suit. That's really what I'm going to do. Okay, so
Julia Carpenter in live action. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
for that.
I mean
it's not Jessica Drew, but it's close. Yeah. We're getting there.
That's all I'm here for. So let's just get to it. All right. Janelle, what was your number 2 pick?
Yes, my number 2. I feel like we're gonna have some people selecting this too. Is actually Agatha, the Darkhold Diaries, which could be renamed something because
have they changed it again?
I thought that was the most recent one. I kept looking it up. So
they changed it 3 times. So regardless, it's totally understandable.
I don't know what to call it. Agatha. just Agatha in general. Give me more Agatha. I referenced this in our best of episode. The Loki series on Disney Plus really, reinvigorated my excitement for Marvel content, specifically this. I loved WandaVision. WandaVision was my you cannot beat show until the second season of Loki. So I am really excited to see Agatha again. I feel like because I've been reading more comics, I have a better idea of who this character is. And I'm really excited to see how they portray her when, the spotlight is all on Agatha. And this one, I feel like I'm curious if it's going to be set immediately after WandaVision, or it might be a throwback and kind of showing her background story or something. I don't really know what it's going to be. I don't think they've really let on anything about it. So I'm really curious about what direction they will choose to go in. Either way, I think it'll be great. I personally, right now, with that title, it's the Darkhold Diaries. I feel like it will be more like set in past tense stuff, but that's just that's my knee-jerk reaction. So I'm excited.
Agatha, a show that exists. Amazing. All right. On to me. My number 2 pick asks everybody the question, can you make it epic? And that is Furiosa. So, Mad Max Fury Road was one of those things that I was like, can George Miller really come back and do this? I mean, the guy who kind of washed out of Justice League Mortal and then was making like what penguin movies there for a second.
He
What
had
was it?
happy feet.
Happy Feet, yeah. So I was like, can this man who just does the
Happy Feet was
weirdest,
really good.
yeah, but like the most eclectic, like filmmaker out there, could he come back and really do this? And Mad Max Fury Road still blows my mind as like it's one of just a handful of movies that I don't argue are they the best, but like in terms of telling story cinematically, just like perfectly, like almost perfect movies, just like self-contained from top to bottom. And as time goes on, they only hold up better. Like it's up there with like Seven for me, which is like my favorite movie because of how well that story's told. But yeah, Fury Road is just like an operatic piece with crazy hardcore metal thrown into it, right? And so getting this prequel is a big deal, but it's already giving me some of those chills. I know people are saying like the image to that Peter has up here on the board where, you know, Anya Taylor-Joy is behind the gate and the flames are coming through. But you know what? I think from just seeing this first trailer, the way it's constructed and brings us back to that same world he kind of built in Fury Road at an earlier time, I think Chris Hemsworth's character and seeing him cooking this is going to be amazing. And that quote already lives rent-free in my head. And when he just looks at her and says, yes, but can you make it epic? And like, it's just like, oh man, put that on a shirt. Like, let's go. I can't wait to get back in the theater. And in terms of that, like Tom Cruise style things, I'm not going there for a franchise connections and all that other stuff. I'm going in there to just be wowed cinematically. This is my like biggest hope for that next year. Yeah. All right. So that's my number 2 pick. And yeah, I can't wait to see some of the things and just I want more in the Mad Max universe. So let's keep going. Matt.
All right. My number 2 is some synergy with Connor Casey. I have Deadpool 3, and you know, I gotta say, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said before. I am looking for the and this has been known. I mean, people who listen to the show and watch the show, number one, thank you for tolerating me. Number 2, you know, you've heard me kind of get very tired of the, you know, constant like MCU connections being the only thing anyone's talking about, because like the movies just, you know, are kind of not exactly what they, you know, once were at some point. And for me, that's become too much of a focus. I don't really care. I want to be entertained by your movie, and I want some of those things. I don't care who shows up at point whatever and what that means for this. So Deadpool 3, I'm kind of looking for the same thing Connor is. I'm looking for a good movie. I want you to entertain me. I don't, you know, I'm not looking at this to reestablish the, you know, the continuity or the MCU or bring this here. If it does, great. But, you know, I just recently like saw that like ending epilogue scene of the original where like, you know, Ryan is like taking out all of his past bad movies and, you know, the Green Lantern script and all that. I want that fun. And I really enjoyed too, as well. And I just want, you know, I want those things back. And the fact that Hugh Jackman is number one back in the character, but also in costume for the first time, that's going to be fun. Those two have amazing chemistry. I'm excited to see that on screen. Like, I just want it to be a fun movie. And then if it helps restore some luster, great. But I just entertain me is what I
Are you not entertained?
It's what I need. So that's my number 2.
All right, guys, here we go. And after all of these things are out, probably at the end of next year, we're going to go back and look at this and see what emotional damage was done to everybody by the time we got out of this year. All right, let's go. Number 1 picks. Connor Casey, set it off.
Number 1 is a thing that hasn't been announced, but by God in heaven, it needs to be. We need a next Nintendo Switch. We need Nintendo's next generation console. Guys, every major tentpole in the massive, ever expanding Nintendo franchise has had an installment on the Switch. Games that are coming out for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S pop up on the Switch, and they look like the kindergarten version of what's happening in the current gen. This thing was underpowered compared to the PlayStation 4. We're on PS5 now. And when you look at the latest Direct, and they're announcing a remake of Thousand Year Door, which didn't really need to be remade. God bless them, they're doing it. I love that they're doing it, but that thing still held up from 2004. A port of Luigi's Mansion 2, not 3, and that little Princess Peach game, and Mario and Donkey Kong, the latest installment in that handheld series that's been dead for a decade. Every sign from that Direct told you they're moving on to the next thing. They're moving on to the next big Nintendo console. Really just hope it's a powered up Switch. I don't need it to be a fancy new motion control innovation. Just give me more of this, but stronger. And it is time. By every insider report and rumor, we were supposed to get a souped up version of the Switch, but then COVID hit. Threw a monkey wrench into everything. Now it's time. This thing is coming up on, I believe, 8 years now, which is longer than most Nintendo console life cycles anyway. Bring it on.
Okay.
Preach.
Okay. I heard we were getting some
was a
outside the
great
box
pick.
picks. I
was a
heard we're
great
getting some
pick.
outside the box stuff. I'm curious if this was the one, but we'll
And
get
I'll
to
buy
at the
that
end.
one.
Yeah.
I
All
want
right.
Buy
want
the
that
Switch
one.
also, Matthew. You should
I want
have
that for my Kickstarter. I want the new one. I want the second.
Hey, Kickstarters don't get to be like that kind of specific. You better sit back. All right, Janelle, go ahead. What was your number one pick?
Yeah, well, can I change mine to Connor's? No, I'm kidding. Mine is Deadpool. I feel like what has needed to be said has been said, but it is my one most anticipated film of the next year, and for many reasons that you guys have already chatted about. But I am absolutely tickled about this. I cannot wait to get back into this headspace and this side of Marvel and Deadpool. And I'm absolutely thrilled that this is finally happening. And obviously Wolverine is going to be just insane. And yeah, I just think it's going to be incredible. Hopefully, I hope Disney doesn't Disneyfy it. And I have faith. I have a lot of faith in this film. Please don't let me down, guys.
No, I mean we know Disney's not going to Disneyfy it. Director Sean Levy, it's already been made clear that yeah, this is gonna get pretty raw, and that's a good segue for my number one pick, which is also Deadpool 3. I know I've been hard on the MCU guys, but it's not because I hate the MCU. I started this entire 16-year career of mine doing MCU stuff and literally helping report that into existence by Avengers Time. So I'm pretty deeply invested in the MCU. So I just, like Connor said, I just need good stories again. I need good stories again. I was really psyched and pleasantly surprised when I heard Hugh Jackman was coming back to do this. We've wanted Wolverine and Deadpool for a long time. We're getting that. There's been this whole thing about the leaks, the Reddit leaks, the script, proposed leaks. I hardly ever go into those anymore, but I've been curious about this and I went into it. And like I said earlier, when Connor revealed it as his pick, if even half of what I've heard is true in this, we are in for a good time. Deadpool is that rare thing that has the ability to possibly turn this whole multiverse saga around by not taking itself so seriously and understanding where it is in time and space and how to make this fun while also being possibly one of the biggest significant pushers of this whole multiverse event, the incursions, the collapses of universes, if things are getting preserved and saved, rumors of the TVA being involved, like All of that is great. The amount of cameo fun we can have, but treat in the right way. Like, don't make them fun asides that don't really, the movie doesn't hinge on this. I want to see Taylor Swift's Dazzler get wiped out of existence. Like, Janelle, you're going to love that when it happens. If she gets like suddenly dusted or just spaghettied, like, you know, it's going to be great. The amount of headlines, spin outs, you know, things this is going to generate, talking points, moments, I think is already kind of clear. And Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds have been on a kick of just kicking butt, whether it's Free Guy, which was unexpectedly a great movie, The Adam Project, which was also kind of this dark horse great movie. I think this is going to be great. It's going to be funny, foul language, violent. Like, it's going to be just unabashed fun in the MCU again. And it's been a long time since we've had that. Like, God bless Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but that wasn't fun. Like, that was heavy stuff. That was serious stuff in a good way. But it's been a long time since we've had an MCU thing that did something big and comic booky, pushed things ahead, but was also generally a good, entertaining, and fun movie. And I think this one's going to be it. And I can't wait for that because, believe it or not, guys, I am rooting for the MCU to bounce back here. All right, last but not least, Matt Aguilar, take us out.
Okay, number 1 on my list is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is I am so excited. Plus, also, this is early in 2024, so this will have me good for a little bit. Remake was number 1. I have such close ties to the Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy VII as a game. Like, it's like one of the reasons like I remember Sears for a video game outlet, because literally I bought Final Fantasy VII at Sears because I was so excited for us to go get the game. Like, I remember all those things. There's so many memories that Final Fantasy VII holds for me. So then when they came out with Remake, a game that fans have been wanting forever, and not only did they knock it out of the park as far as bringing the graphics and the combat is such a amazing, like, kind of step into that modern era, but still retaining the elements that we loved about the turn-based style. But they also saw an opportunity to just explore so much more. And like, Remake is so dense compared to just what that part of the story covers. And they're going even bigger with Rebirth. I mean, Rebirth, this era, this is like some of the most iconic moments in gaming are set to take place in this. When you think about, I mean, I'm it's not spoilers really for this very old game at this point, but just to keep it light, one of the most iconic deaths in gaming could very well take place here and is set to take place. But will it be the way you remember? They've done so much with the lore and what is set in stone and what isn't. And I'm just, man, I cannot wait. This is going to be so fun. I loved what they did with Remake, and the fact that they're going above and beyond for Rebirth, and it's going to be even bigger and on a grander scale. I am so excited. I cannot wait. So that's my number 1 pick.
All right, there you have it. That is the entire crew. Our top 5 picks for our top 5 most anticipated pieces of content or announcements for a game console in 2024. All right, guys, we always have to now cut things up for social. So what we're going to do is when I call out your name, please go back over your list and tell me what you picked from say the numbers, say the name of the thing you picked, and do it all in 10 seconds if you can. Connor.
Number 5 is The Penguin. Number 4, The Has-Been Hotel series. Number 3, Dune Part 2. Number 2, Deadpool 3. And number 1, Nintendo finally announcing a new console.
All right, Janelle Wheeler.
Number 5 is Fallout. Number 4 is The Walking Dead with Rick Grimes back in action. Number 3 is Beetlejuice 2. Number 2 is whatever iteration of the title of Agatha is. And number 1 is Deadpool.
Kofi Outlaw. My number 5 is the new Ultimate Spider-Man comic series from Jonathan Hickman. Number 4 is the Penguin TV series spinoff of the Batman. Number 2 is Beetlejuice 2. Number 2 is Mad Max prequel Furiosa. And number 1 is also for me Deadpool 3. Matt.
All right, number 5 for me is DC's Creature Commandos. Number 4 is Metaphor ReFantazio. Number 3 is The Witcher Sirens of the Deep. Number 2 is Deadpool 3. And number 1 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
All right. Thank you guys for that recap for the socials. This has been our most anticipated of 2024. As we get to the end of next year, we will come back and see how we all feel about our decisions and the choices we made. But as you can see, it's going to be a year of good content and exciting content on all fronts. Luckily, we're a show that covers all things geek culture. We are Comic Book Nation, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we didn't have a chance to mention. Everybody get one honorable mention in. Connor, if you have any honorable mentions you want to mention before we get out?
Ooh, honorable mention. Let's go with Will Ospreay debuting in AEW.
Okay. Janelle?
I mean, honestly, mine's a Penguin. It was really hard not to throw Penguin into my list. I'm really excited.
Okay, mine is going to be The Boys Season 4, which I think we're going to do an after show for Comic Book Nation, so look out for that. And Matt?
Oh, man. You know what? I will say the return of Law and Order. I am missing my Law and Order shows, and all 3 are coming back early in the year, January 18th, baby. So I'm excited.
That's a good point, Matt. Okay, fine. My other sleeper hit that we haven't talked about is Doctor Who is back. So
there it is.
There we go. There it is. And that's a great note to end on. Everybody, we hope you had a safe and happy new year and that you begin your year off on the good foot. Join us every week, Comic Book Nation. We have our live show with the 4 of us every Friday, but we have so many spinoffs. We've grown into an entire little podcast universe. So be sure to check out all our different shows, including Matt on the poll list, Janelle probably hitting some other Doctor Who content in this next year, Riptide Radio or Percy Jackson and the Olympians after show with Liam Crowley, plus a whole lot of bonus episodes whenever there's big news, big trailers, or big new pieces of content that drop. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We will see you on our regular episodes. This is Comic Book Nation. We out of here. Peace.
Later.